Hey guys, NotParadox here. Today I'm going to be doing some gameplay of a different game. I'm going to be playing Dauntless. Now Dauntless is a Monster Hunter game that has been gaining a lot of popularity. It's currently in the open beta, and while it still needs a lot of work, there's a lot of things that are really interesting about this game. So to start out, what is Dauntless? Well, Dauntless, you are playing as a character that has a variety of weapons. Currently there are 5 weapons available, and there is a 6th weapon that has been teased. We believe it to be probably a crossbow type weapon, but we're not really sure because I know that the developers wanted everyone to stay melee. I personally have really enjoyed playing with the hammers because the hammers can stagger the enemy behemoths, giving your team more time to attack. Hammers are also good at breaking parts off of the monsters. For example, if the monsters have spikes, it might be hard for you to get near the monster, or the monster might have special abilities to fire those spikes out. But with a hammer, you could go in, you could break the spikes and make it easier for your team to DPS the monster and do what they need to do. Each of the weapons give you specific abilities as well as different play styles, and they have different benefits. For example, the axe is just as good at downing the spikes, but it can also take out tails. The axe also has a lot of damage, but the axe doesn't stagger as often as the hammer does. The swords are great at cutting tails, but they're not great at dealing with things like spikes or armor. Same with the chain blades. The chain blades aren't really great at taking out any pieces of them, but they have high DPS and they're very good at dodging, while the pikes have a little bit of the same thing, but they show where there are weak spots. So each different type of weapon has their different style, which is why I really like this game, because everyone feels like they're bringing something different to a team. When you look at the armor, there's also different things that the armor can give. For example, I'm wearing armor that gives shock resistance as well as something called sharpened. Now, if you go into the actual armor, it will explain what sharpened is. Or if you go to craft the armor, it will show you what sharpened is. So in this case, we're going to go over here, and I will show you what sharpened does by simply going down to the Drask armor, which is what I'm using. And you can see sharpened increases the part damage that you do by 5%. So in this armor, we get the defense rating, as well as we get shock resistance, and we get sharpened, which is going to increase the part damage. Because I'm using a hammer that already does a lot of part damage, that extra 10% is going to improve the rate that I down the parts. Now, you could upgrade any of your pieces of armor by collecting different pieces from the enemy, as well as collecting armor arcanite. And the more you upgrade your armor, the more likely you are to dealing with future enemies. So in this case, if I want to upgrade my entire set of armor, I do have enough that I can do that, I believe. So this is kind of what it looks like. You upgrade, and now it was at 69 value, and now we see that it is bumped up, or sorry, it went from, I believe it was 64 to 69. And so I've reached the max level on this one, and I can go through and I can upgrade the rest of my armor, which I say why not. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to upgrade the rest of this armor that I have, and it will be one of the strongest sets that I have at the moment. I'm not going to say it's a great set to begin with, but it is a decent set that I have, and I had the parts to upgrade it. When you start leveling up, there's different areas that you can level up, and there's different reputations. I believe there's supposed to be at least 5 of them when the game comes out. Currently, I only have 3 unlocked. Slayer is a basic one you start with. It gives you these chests that will give you different pieces that you can throw into your armor and your weapons to improve the playstyle and changing how everything works. Weapon Master gives you the same thing, just these different things that can increase other values, as well as it unlocks specific weapons. For example, if you want to unlock the axe, you have to get to level 2. If you want to unlock the war pike, you have to get to level 4. And we might see a level 6 for the new weapon, but it has not been explained yet if that is something that's actually going to happen. Alchemist gives you new types of potions you can use while fighting any of the monsters, as well as types of pylons that you can activate, which will give buffs to everyone on your team that is in the area of the pylon. So there are also daily quests, weekly quests, and quests that you can do while playing the game. Say, for example, I've got a quest that says, hunt a Pangar, hunt an Azaga, or Avalanche, hunt Pangar. So you get these variety of quests that you will work through until you run out of quests when you reach the endgame zones. In the endgame zones, it's pretty much dailies, weeklies, and trying to work on getting your endgame armor. They did explain that they will be adding some raid type modes later, and we'll kind of get into what these raid modes are like, whether they're more than the normal group sizes. I do have one chest I will open up, and let's see what we get. So I opened it up. It was a rare chest. It happened to roll rare. This gives us 2 items, and 1 is likely to be rare. Deconstructed cells makes it to where we get bonus damage against objects created by behemoths. There are a couple of behemoths that will summon things like ice shards or these lightning spikes, and if you don't destroy them, then the behemoth gets special effects. So for example, with the lightning one, if the behemoth leaves that up for a long time, it gets charged up and will keep throwing the lightning spikes out and doing more lightning damage. However, when you destroy it, it stuns the behemoth, and then you get time to deal damage to the behemoth. All of these are really cool. So what are behemoths? Behemoths are the different creatures that you hunt, the different bosses that you hunt, and the great part about Monster Hunter games, and this game in particular, is you can hunt any of these monsters, and you don't need to worry about fighting a bunch of small creatures. When I play a game like World of Warcraft, I find that I get really bored because I'm constantly questing, and I have to just kill like 30 of these like little creatures that I don't even want to deal with. And then I have to go through and I have to find 30 little flowers, and then I have to go and do 30 chores for other people. And in this game, there's no chores. If you want to fight a giant monster, you just go straight out there, you fight a giant monster. Now, there are ways to do other things lightly, like when you go in to fight a monster, you can go around and pick flowers before you find the monster. But you can use a lantern that makes it easy to find the monster. So if you really just wanted to find the monster, or the behemoth in this game, then simply use your lantern to find the behemoth, go after the behemoth, fire off a flare to tell your team that you found the behemoth, and your whole team will go out and get it. Because you can always get flowers later, or you can get flowers in other games, but usually the first couple minutes of the game, most players are pretty good about picking flowers a little bit, and then going and finding the behemoth and all working together to take it out. The maps on this are pretty cool. I mean, for only being a beta, the maps are very colorful. The game is very interesting. I really like the general idea of it. I think it's just really fun. So I don't know. I really like it. Now, I'll show you. I'm going to kind of talk about the gameplay as I'm going through it. You can see we kind of start off. The first thing that we always do is we just kind of look around for flowers. In this case, we found some flowers over here. I found a little trick for picking up the flowers to where you don't lose momentum. You see how he's stopping when he picks up flowers? I found a way to kind of pick up flowers without losing momentum. And these little momentum things that you'll find in this game, there's a lot of things that stop your momentum. If you hit a rock or something, or if you hit a little tree, all of these things can be really, really annoying. And they did say that they would work a little bit on the clunkiness of the game, which is, again, it's a beta. What can you expect? So we'll be going through. Let me change the sound at the moment. I just want to make sure that you guys can hear all the sound in game. Once you can hear all the sound in this video, oh, I'm going to slam the ground right there. So the hammer is the slowest weapon in the game, so if it feels like it's really slow, I will say that a lot of the weapons in this game are pretty slow, but that doesn't mean that the one that you're going to be watching me use is going to indicate the entire game, because it is one of the slower weapons in the game. So I wouldn't consider this to be the greatest showing of the entire game, but the hammers are still my favorite weapons in general. I just feel like you get a lot of benefits for your team, and you can really help them out. Alright, I feel like the behemoth's usually found in open areas, so you can kind of look in these open areas to see if you see the behemoth. In this case, we're not seeing it. Okay, and we saw a flare over there. Does that mean that he saw the behemoth? I'm guessing so. I don't actually know what we're fighting, so... But the flare did go up, so we're all going to start running towards the flare. If you were ever wondering how to do a flare, you hold C and point it up and let go of C, and then it fires a flare. I'm not seeing anything yet, but I do see more flowers. No one's taking damage, so there's a good chance that we don't need to worry about anything yet. There's nothing down that way. See someone running over here. Yeah, a lot of the beginning of the game is just looking for the behemoth. Sometimes the teams will spread out so that they can all search different areas to find the behemoth. And most of the time it usually doesn't take this long. A lot of times you find the behemoth usually within the first, I would say, couple minutes. I don't think it could be anywhere over there, but I do see some more flowers. I don't know, I said at the beginning of this, I was like, I don't like World of Warcraft because you're always like, oh, go pick up 30 flowers. But in this case, you don't have to do this. You could just go around and fight behemoths the whole time. Did I miss that one? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, there was another flare. All right. 2 flares this time. That means that the behemoth is probably over there. We're going to head over there. I believe I see it. So just so you can see, these are the things you can do, and I'll fire off my own flare, and I'm also going to take my weapon out. You press X to get your weapon out, and then you can run, but as you're sprinting with your weapon out, you do lose stamina. So with the hammer, it has a special reload mechanic, and you'll see that I will be using the reload quite a bit. And you can charge up your abilities by firing a shot with it, and then you reload. And it's just a really cool mechanic. So you press Q, you do like a little Gears of War reload thing. I'm going to activate my my shield really quick. Shield actually saved me. I'm going to see if I can stagger him. So the types of damage that you're going to be seeing... Oh, I messed that up. Didn't think it actually went through. The types of damage you're going to be seeing are yellow. And yellow means that you are doing armor or part damage. Then purple means that you're doing stagger damage. So you're increasing the chance that you're going to be staggering the enemy. Then green damage is directly health damage. And what green damage essentially does is it means you're actually damaging the behemoth. So you can see I'm doing yellow damage. So I am... damaging the parts of the behemoth. In this case, I'm damaging the tail of the behemoth. Oh. And just doing a quick rotation. And I staggered the behemoth, so I got a health boost because the weapon that I'm using has a special where if I stagger, I get bonus health. So I gained a lot of my life back. Now I need to dodge back as he's going to go into the Enrage Mode. Now, the Enrage Mode, many weapons have benefits when fighting an enemy in Enrage Mode. And in this particular Enrage Mode, you have to break his parts to get him out of the Enrage Mode. So you can see I went with a very aggressive jumping on him. I didn't worry about really him doing anything too crazy here. I just really got in his face, and my goal is to use the hammer to break his armor as fast as possible. So you can see I'm just getting right on him. I'm hitting him with in the areas where I can do part damage. And there are ways that you can reload one shot at a time. So I did a lot of part damage already, and I just staggered him again. And again, just lots of part damage. This particular fight is really good for hammers. And so you'll see that I'm really just smacking on him as much as possible. And again, just a lot of damage. Normally what you want to do is kind of dodge in and out of fights. And then you also want to use other rotations. Like you saw, I used a spinning rotation this time. I'm going to drink a healing potion really quick. You only get 5 healing potions per game, so you want to make sure to watch them very carefully, and you don't want to waste your healing potions too early. So you can see oh, he got his helmet back. Ooh, it's a bit scary. Alright, so now the behemoth left, so we got it through the first phase. There are benefits of getting the behemoth through the first phase, like if you see it in the top right, there's a little triangle. And if you go through and get that triangle all the way down to 0, it can be really nice. Now, if it goes all the way up to 100, it means that you can no longer revive your teammates. So, for example, if they run out of potions and they go down, you have an opportunity to revive them. But if that threat meter goes all the way up to 100, you can no longer revive your teammates. So you can see that it's nice to keep it at 0%. That just means that you're doing really well, and we are doing really well. In this case, we have 2 swords, 2 hammers. Hammers are really good at breaking his armor, while swords are good at dealing damage to him. So this should be really good. I heard 2 people jump up there, and then 2 of those. Yeah, he's over there. So this guy's kind of harder to see because he kind of blends in with a lot of the other rocks in the area. But I'll get my hammer out. There are other potions you can see in the bottom right that I've crafted. So I get 5 free health potions every time, but I have crafted other potions if I wanted to use them. In this case, I am not going to use them though. So he uses an ability there. I simply just back off, and I go in there with my AoE and just start hitting him. So I take a lot of damage from that, but I did break his AoE for the team. So sometimes you just have to take it for the team. You get in iframes or invincibility frames whenever you dodge. So as you saw, he dodged, or he attacked me, but I was able to dodge the damage from just simply dodging out of the way. So I have this specific rotation that I like to do where I roll first, and then I do 2 spinning attacks. And it usually staggers the enemy really easily. So I like doing that rotation whenever there's a large period of time that I can attack. For example, I staggered him again, gaining my life back again, and it's really nice to keep staggering him. If you're attacking a behemoth from the side, you'll notice that there's more purple damage than if you attack it from like behind or in the front, because it's a lot easier to stagger someone. Like, for example, if you're trying to like tip a cow, it's a lot easier to tip a cow from the side. I don't know how many people in here have tipped cows, but... And you can see I did a good chunk of stagger damage. I'm going to back up. And I'm just going to go right in front of him, hit him in the face, and you can see no stagger damage from the face. But if I go to the side, I'm doing health damage, and I'm doing stagger damage. Oh. There is also red damage, but you won't see red damage unless you're using a pike, because red damage is essentially like bleeding damage. Ooh, a little close there. But I still use my shields and healing so that I can take a little bit more damage than some of my allies. You can see I just shielded through that, and I'll still just be getting in there and start breaking some parts. Alright, and we downed the first behemoth. Well, I mean, he's not the first behemoth for me. I've done quite a few, and he's not the first behemoth you guys are going to fight, because there's tutorial ones and other ones. But as you can see, I got an A rank. My team probably got a better rank, S+. So I didn't do very well, but I also was kind of talking throughout this. My focus is kind of breaking parts, and I got the highest score on Breaker, which means that I broke the most parts out of the entire team. I didn't do as much damage as the team, but with a hammer, you don't really expect to do as much damage as the team. So at the end of this one, you can see we get, well, it's not actually saying it. I think it's bugged out a little bit, but normally it'll say all the different things that you got for doing this. And in this case, it was a patrol on the second map, so I should have gotten like 6 armor pieces and 6 weapon pieces, and then a couple break parts. But it kind of bugged out there a little bit at the end, and it sometimes bugs out again right there. All of that is how you get more and more pieces so that you can make armor out of the monsters or behemoths that you end up taking out. And that is what Dauntless is. Now, I will kind of show you the pieces that I got and what I could do with it in just a second when it loads through. And I'll be doing more Dauntless videos later, maybe with some friends, as I have a couple friends that are also doing Dauntless. And I think it crashed. Maybe. Maybe not. I still see it loading down in the bottom right. But overall, guys, I really like Dauntless. I mean, if you're someone that liked Monster Hunter, I'm going to say it's probably not as deep as Monster Hunter in terms of story or just the amount of content that's in there right now. But for a PC version of Monster Hunter, it's not bad. It's really not. And overall, I still think it's really fun to play. If you're coming from like MOBAs or MMOs where you're like always questing, it just gets kind of, it's nice to be refreshing and just go straight in and immediately fight a boss. So what we just killed was called the Skarn. So because we killed him, we got Skarn hide, and we can use this hide to create specific weapons. Say I wanted to create a sword out of the creature that we just killed. That is the whole purpose of Dauntless, is to kill creatures, to build awesome armor out of the parts that you just killed from or picked up from them, and then use that armor to fight other creatures. And it can get pretty in-depth too. You could fight one creature and get shock-resistant armor to then go and fight a shock-related creature and then get frost armor and less shock resistance. And then you start building up these sets of armor that some are shock resistant and some are different types, and then you have some that do more part breaking damage and some that give special abilities, so if you break parts you gain health. There's all these different things that you can do, different strategies. It's just overall a pretty interesting game. I highly recommend everyone check it out. Thank you so much for watching.